Yeah, looks like we're live. We always got to go check over here. It appears like it is live on the WeTubes. Guess what, friends?
We're back.
Modern Relics Podcast is back. I'm Angel. He's Lucky. It's been a minute. We're back.
It has.
We're not in the same room now. No. I realized in hindsight, if you listened to the last show, we probably should have just shared a microphone, the one that you were using, because there was a lot of feedback and it's very hard to edit. But you know what? Growing pains. It was haphazardly put together, but that does mean that we were in the same room at the same time. I got to see you and the family. It was super awesome. My vacation is still going for 2 more days.
Nice.
And then I go back to Redacted to work. So, yeah, dude, lots and lots to catch up with. First of all, how was the drive back? How are things? What's going on?
The drive back was great. We had a great vacation, man, because the last time we recorded, I think we had been there for not even, I mean, a matter of hours.
Yeah.
So, and the entirety of the vacation was fantastic. You took us out to go see Lake Mead and the Hoover Dam. My dog Arthur got to go to the Hoover Dam, and the kids got to see that. That was really cool. Really eye opening about the water levels. That was pretty amazing. Yeah. And kind of the impact of what that is causing to the Western United States.
It's always different when you see it in person, right? Like to see the photos, it's like, holy shit. And then you're standing there and you're like, oh my, like this is,
yeah. It's wild.
Yeah.
So, and then we hung out in your pool, ate really well. You fed us really well. And then also, met some really cool neighbors.
Yeah.
Like you have some, I met, I think 3 different sets of your neighbors in your neighborhood. And I'm very pleased to see and know that you're surrounded by such good people who actually look out for you and actually care for you.
Yeah.
So
it's a nice sense of community, which is something that was like sorely lacking in Seattle. And it was one of the things that I really picked up on that was like, I actually really enjoy being in this area.
That's the way it's supposed to be.
Yeah.
And when you've never experienced that, like living in Seattle or anything, where you live someplace for years and never speak to your neighbors because why? But yeah, so that was pretty cool. And then we cured the kids of Vegas. They said never again. Yeah. They hated that city and said never again. We'll visit Uncle Angel, but we have no need to go down into the city of sin, and which is awesome. I'm not upset as a father that the kids are not drawn to the lights.
Yeah.
But yeah, after that, then we went down to Lake Havasu and visited with my grandmother, who I have not seen but one time briefly from the time I was 5. And got to spend time with my aunt and uncle, Kim and Andy, who now Kim is far and away my favorite aunt, and Andy, my favorite uncle. They're the coolest people in the world. Nice. And I got to spend my birthday down there. We got to have dinner on the London Bridge. The kids got to see the London Bridge. My grandmother also everybody has a pool. So we pool hopped through the Southwest. But then I got to spend my birthday at the Nautical Resort in Lake Havasu, where my aunt is one of the facility runners there. Pardon me. And then got to hang out at my cousin's house, even though she wasn't there. She was on a Disney cruise, but they were house sitting, so we got to hang out there in her pool and enjoy my birthday there. But it was really great to catch up with my grandmother and kind of fill some gaps on kind of my lost history.
Yeah.
And
that shit's always fascinating, dude. Like when I met my biological aunt, and we basically just hung out for several hours, just drinking a bottle of wine and hanging out on the porch and just connecting and like getting to pick up all the pieces that I didn't know were there was really cool.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
yeah,
But yeah, she's a fun and spicy lady. She's 86 and still dancing. And yeah, I mean, the
nice.
music couldn't hit the air without her moving, and it was hilarious. But the dog did well through the whole trip. He never threw up. He traveled really well. And then we came back to your place for a couple of days, or about a day.
Yeah,
And you got tattooed while I
I
was
did.
there.
Yeah,
And then we drove home, and the drive back was really smooth. We did,
good.
no more problems. Everything went perfect. Ended up in Boise, stayed at my friend Tom's from high school again.
Did you guys get to actually connect for a minute?
Yeah,
the second time.
yeah, we
Good.
actually got to catch up and have dinner, and yeah, it was cool. It was really nice to get to catch up with Tom, and then headed back home and immediately got back into the action where Kate, we had to get Kate back in time for a wedding for her best friend, which she was partially helping plan and kind of coordinating stuff. So she had to get right into it, and we were kind of helping with that kind of stuff too. And then that Sunday was the wedding. Bam, bam. I went directly to work, and then the wedding, and then bam, 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 and then 4th of July, and we just haven't had a chance to sit down and breathe.
Yeah.
This weekend was the first weekend we started putting like stuff up.
I was gonna say you still have to unpack. Yeah.
Yeah. So we just started. Aaron's, I think, upstairs, like putting pictures up. I put up a bunch of art yesterday, and we're starting to get the garage kind of unloaded and putting boxes and stuff into the rooms where they belong to unload them and everything. But we're comfortable. Everything's great. We love the new house.
Nice.
4th of July was fun. I'll get into that a little bit more later, but yeah, we had an eventful 4th of July, and but yeah, the trip was great.
Nice.
But it was the end of my trip was the middle of yours, and so you ended up the minute I left. You ended up taking a side quest secondary adventure.
Yeah.
And so tell me about that, because I saw a few pictures, but you were pretty much incommunicado while I was, and I was too busy to really, other than see pictures and go, oh, cool, he's in California, he's down by San Diego.
Yeah.
That was about it. So I was like, good, I'm glad Paul showed up and you guys hit the road.
Yeah. So we were behind schedule by quite a bit, and Paul, friend of the podcast, had a couple of jobs where materials, he's not, I guess I'll probably screw this up, but he is not the GC on these jobs. He is one of the contractors doing specific pieces of this remodel or build or something. And apparently the materials were not ordered for like a week. So they were pushed out a long time. So his work was like scooched forward. So he's trying to fly through that. He also has to replace a clutch in his car before he comes down. So he's trying to get that done on jack stands in his driveway. It's piss and rain up there. Like, it's the worst possible situation. So our guy gets the very last bolts tightened down by putting the transmission back together after throwing a clutch in it, like chucks clothes in the car, and then just starts driving south that night. So he stays somewhere, I want to say southern Idaho, maybe Oregon, something like that. Gets down. We hang out for
or something.
Yeah, we hang out for one day here, get everything prepped and packed, and we get going. We went straight to San Diego, and this is in lieu of my annual motorcycle trip is up and down the PCH. I elected not to do that this year because I didn't have another rider, and if I get run off the road, it's going to be very difficult to find me, kind of thing. So, like, hey, cars. Plus, I've done a lot to the car. I needed to shake it down anyway. So we get down to San Diego, is night one. The valets kind of don't know how to drive sticks, so we get like princess parking right in front of the doors because they can't really drive our cars around the corner or in the garage, which was great because it's like where they put all the Lamborghinis and nice cars for all the VIPs and stuff. So cars are up front and center where there's 24/7 valet watch just 5 feet away, which was kind of nice. What I didn't realize is that the California tourism tax is 10.5%. Just for
really?
Yeah. So if I don't have an in-state driver's license when I'm booking hotel reservations, it goes up. So it's a pretty expensive night one. We're like, well, let's do some drives. So we wanted to hit Highway 18, which is the San Bernardino Hills side, not the Angeles Crest Forest side. Plus, I'm not a monster fan of Los Angeles anyway, especially in a car.
Yeah.
So we went up there. We stayed at Big Bear Lake, which I haven't been to in 25 years or something. And
Right.
the interesting part of Big Bear Lake was I didn't realize that it was like 7,500 to 7,800 feet of elevation.
Yeah.
So like the air is too thin, even going through the oil cooler and the radiator, the molecules of air are too thin to actually extract heat from the engine. So I'm watching my temperature gauge just go up and up and up and up and up and up the more I climb. And we make it there okay. I didn't like fall into limp mode or anything, but I was like, God damn. And then, 2-3 hours in, you're kind of like, like you just can't breathe up there.
Right.
So we're like, this would be a short one nighter. So we come down the mountain, temperatures, in the car start to drop, even though the ambient temperature is starting to rise. It's a very interesting phenomenon. If you're into motorsports, like hill climbs and stuff, one of the biggest things you have to find a way to fight is your air fuel mixture and the ability to cool the engine off when there's no air.
Yeah.
So that was kind of an interesting science note on the way down. But I got to shake the car down, do some really fun twisty roads. Traffic wasn't too bad, but we recognized pretty quick that money's going to be real thin if we wanted to just go deep into Northern California or, up there. So we're like, why don't we head back to the desert and just try to have as much fun as we can have, planned a 4th of July barbecue. So we had a 2-day long trip. That was it. We were already in Southern California. We turned around, we came back, we hung out here. The temperature broke 115 and then never looked back. It was 120 yesterday. It's 100.
Wow.
It's cooled down right now to 113, and it's like what? It's 5:20 p.m. My rose bush outside the front door when you first walk in, like all the leaves are scorched off of it just from the sunshine. The stalks are still green where it's like getting water and stuff, but the leaves on the outside edges are just crispy. And we're breaking records for like consecutive days over 110 degrees. Broke our all-time heat record, 120 at McCarran. I think Death Valley just next to us was chasing 130. It's hot. It's like it's cartoon levels of hot down here.
Yeah.
So that's been very interesting. But overall, I invited a bunch of people to the 4th of July barbecue, and every single person showed up. So that was
No kidding.
that was unique. That never happened. So
So like Chris came over.
yep, Chris and his wife, and we had my real estate lady Catherine and her husband Mike, and my neighbors and Paul. It was fun. It was super fun. So we barbecued our faces off. Everybody lived in the pool that day. We got to see some interesting fireworks. Nothing caught fire, thankfully. No thanks to my neighbors. They were blasting until 2:00 in the morning.
All right, let me guess which neighbors.
It's you don't even need to guess. You already know. Yeah. But it's been a good vacation, like all things
I like
considered.
that I geographically and kind of culturally know your neighborhood now. So now I'm not just kind of going, oh yeah. Like when you're talking about this kind of stuff, I actually have a frame of reference. So, but yeah, no, I know exactly which neighbors were being the problem child in the neighborhood. So,
Yeah.
So
other than that, pretty fun. I didn't get to do any filming. I didn't get to do any pictures. And the reality is, even if I wanted to shoot a video here, cameras will overheat. I mean, within minutes, or less, probably seconds. Drone will overheat, like all of it. It's just too hot. So yeah, it's been pretty relaxing at home, even though home is not where I wanted to spend all of my vacation. It's actually been pretty good to just not be at work. It was awesome seeing you guys. I was really looking forward to that. I'm glad that worked. And overall, it's been pretty good, man.
One of the things that I wanted to mention is your neighbor from directly across the street, and remind me his name.
Walter.
Walter.
Yeah.
Walter gave me a gift, and I thought that was pretty amazing. He does these wood carvings that are engraved, like laser engraved wood carving things, I think. And he gave me one of, and forgive me, I'm forgetting the verse. It's Matthew something, but and it's a magnet that he made, and he gave it to me for my birthday, and I just thought that was super cool of him. And then my kids gave you a cool item that we forgot to mention last time, that I had custom made for you from one of my clients up here, and it's a bayonet knife. Do you have that within reach?
It's in the other room with my turtle, which I'm also matting and framing in a glass box I just got. That the case is right there in the corner on the floor.
Sweet. Okay.
So I'm gonna try and put those both up tomorrow.
So yeah, I had for the audience, I had a custom made trench knife bayonet blade with bayonet connections on it, mounted and powder coated with blue and I don't even know what it's called, marbling basically within the hilt.
It's cool.
And the kids had it commissioned and paid to have it done. But I have a client that's MD or MB Blade Works, Mikey Broadsword, and he's phenomenal blade worker. I've got a couple of his knives, and so but yeah, we had that made as a thank you. They wanted to do something cool for you, and I said,
it is really cool.
So I talked to Mikey and I was like, hey, the kids want to do something. Would you be able to do something like this for him, for something for his room? And he came through. Unfortunately, like one of the screws isn't holding, and so we'll have to figure that out. But yeah. Anyway, overall, you had a great 4th. You had a great vacation.
So far, so good.
We had a great vacation. Coming back here, it was cold. We came back and it was like 89, and we're like, who? Like, everyone's been complaining because it's like in the 90s, late upper 80s, mid 90s, and everyone is dying here, and we're just like. This is like we're chilly, we're soaking up the heat, and
I gotta tell you, man, and it got considerably hotter where since you guys left. It is, geez, it's hot. So like I took so I helped my neighbors that you met late that night in the backyard across from me, the elderly couple. Our general rotation is I'll take all of our trash cans to the street Sunday night because Monday's trash day, and then typically Monday I'm working. Al will come collect all the empties and drag them back up to the house. And I walked outside and it just hits you. You can feel it. It hits you, and I'm like, and then I'm like pushing like can number 3, just like, it's ridiculously hot. I pretty much run back into the house and just sit in front of misting myself with water. It's crazy hot. It's unusually hot. So you guys missed the super big bad part of it, but you got a little heat while you were down here for sure. Especially, I assume Arizona was hotter when you went down there as well. So
it was. It was between I would say 80. 109 to 115, somewhere in there the whole time.
Yeah.
And then it never got below 97 at night.
Yep.
So but it was pretty wild. We did get to see accidentally on my birthday, we went and got ice cream because I grew up in Southern California. They had thrifty drugstores everywhere, which are like CVS's or Rite Aids or whatever. And at the front of every thrifty drugstore was their ice cream bar, and you could get a cheap ice cream there, but they had their specific brand flavors, and one of them was a chocolate malted crunch that I used to get when I was a kid all the time. It was my favorite. I haven't seen it in 25 years. Almost even forgot that it existed, and they have them all over Havasu. So there's thrifty. Not drugstores. Yeah. There's just thrifty ice cream places.
Oh, yeah.
And it's the same stuff.
Dude.
And so,
you know what I saw in California? and similar, forgot they even existed, was Foster Freeze. We used to have Foster
Oh,
Freezes
yeah.
all over, and that's where we would stop in. And I was like, holy shit,
Yeah.
they still have Foster Freeze? That's insane. Yeah.
Yeah, but while we were sitting there on my birthday getting my thrifty ice cream in Havasu, and I filmed it, but we got to see. We didn't know what it was at 1st,
Mhm.
but I recognized that nobody else in the parking lot was panicking or like looking up or anything. But we got to see the Elon Musk rocket launch,
Oh,
and it
cool.
was just cruising across the sky, and it was bizarre because it looked wild. It had this big wake behind it, and nobody else was panicking or freaking out. So it's like, this has got to be either something that they see all the time,
Right.
and it turned out we looked and it was the Elon Musk rocket launch. So that was pretty cool.
Yeah,
That was fun to see.
nothing Russian. Everyone can calm
Yeah.
down. Yeah.
I know. I was like, I'm eating ice cream as the nukes start dropping. Will be about right.
Yeah.
So,
So,
but yeah,
other than that, man, a lot's gone on. Holy cow.
Yeah. yeah, it's been a crazy, like, outside of our own personal stuff, it's been a
Dude.
crazy couple of weeks, man.
There's so much that I was filtering down.
Yeah.
It's been a minute since I've seen or experienced anything viral on the internet. It's kind of hard to go viral because everything is internet these days. And then Hawk Tuah Girl happens, and
Yeah.
the best
that
part was like
exploded.
I was getting absolutely waterboarded with useless memes, just left and right about, and I'd never saw the original video for days. And I'm
Yeah.
like, why? Like, I'm supposed to connect the dots with all these memes. And I'm like, I don't understand. And then I finally saw the original video. Before I stopped caring about it last week,
Right.
it got to the point where it seems like the internet was really trying to figure out who this girl was.
Yeah.
And I'm still getting fed Hawk Tuah Girl memes left and right.
Yeah.
And yeah,
I think this one's got some. I think this one's got some wheels on it for a little while. Like
feels like it.
it like a Harambe kind of feel to
Yeah.
it, where it might actually have like a bizarre cultural impact, like more so than the girls like that motherfucker right there isn't real. You know,
Yeah.
that lady from the airplane. That had some traction to it, but this I had the creativity behind the memes that they're doing, and it's going to have a weird cultural impact, but
Yeah.
it's going to have a cultural impact for sure. For why, I don't know.
For reasons that remain unclear,
There's a charm to her, I will admit, but it is something that has for lack of a better term, there's a deeper connection there that I just don't get.
Yeah,
that
same.
people are really connecting to, and more than it just being funny, more than it just being like it's almost a statement on society in multiple different directions, and it's a very weird thing because
it's an illegible statement.
right, absolutely, yeah. But you know, and then of course the internet decided to bombard us with her backstory, right?
So have you figured out her backstory or any of this?
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, I saw an interview with her because I had heard she was the daughter of a pastor who's really upset about this going viral.
I heard that.
I heard that she was a teacher that got fired from her job.
Right.
I had heard a billion other little stories, you know, that she's in hiding. She's not in hiding. She worked at a like a wire or cable factory, and she has since quit her job because of the notoriety that she has been receiving from this. She has actually been contacted and now has talent agencies representing her, but she's actually kind of funny. Her dad wasn't a pastor. In fact, she said he's the furthest thing from a pastor.
Yeah.
So she said all of that is lies. She's done a few interviews now, and so but I think she's looking to possibly make some type of entertainment or influencer career off of
You
this
had better
notoriety.
hope. You had better hope that she's talented as an entertainer in some capacity, because finding a job is going to be tough. For one,
Right. Yeah.
it's not like she didn't do anything that would prohibit her from getting a job, but it's going to be tough around the office. Two, do you remember the Leroy Jenkins guy?
Yeah.
Yeah. So this, for those of you that want to hit the Wayback Machine, Leroy Jenkins was like a skit about a World of Warcraft raid where everyone is being told by the raid leader, hey man, we're going to do this, and then we have to do this in sequence, and then this one guy just goes balls out and runs face first into all the bad guys alone, screaming, Leroy Jenkins. I bring that up because that guy is still doing the quote at like Comic Cons and BlizzCons, and that's all that guy can do. So
Yeah.
Hawk to a Girl better be a brilliant actress or a great singer or like
I don't think she's
something.
either, but she's got a charming personality from the interviews that I saw.
Yeah.
She's got a good sense of humor. She's got some comedic timing. And in a world where it takes the least amount of talent to become famous, I think that she may actually, if she gets the right talent agency, might actually find a niche somewhere.
Hope so.
I hope so too, because man, for a moment in time that changed her entire life. I mean, it was literally, she wasn't even really, if you watch the video, she wasn't really even into it. She wasn't really even paying attention to the guy. Her friend was being interviewed and she kept popping in.
Yeah, it
said
felt
the
like she was
thing, and
trolling another like interviewer for the internet for whatever he was interviewing for, looking to get drunk girl quotes outside of a bar, I would guess. Mission
also heard that
success.
this wasn't the first time that she has had some form of viral situation happen. I don't know what the other one was, but I've been hearing that this isn't the first time that she's been.
Yeah.
But she seems to be somebody who has kind of an it factor without knowing what it is.
Yeah.
You know, and I think that she'll probably be fine
Hope
if
so.
she could stay off substances and
Right.
you know, like, and not allow, you know, I mean, if the Cash Me Outside girl can actually, you know, I mean, she went into, I think, you know, what's the porn site for normies?
Yeah.
OnlyFans stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think she started doing that, but I think she was destined for that anyway. But
I heard one of the actresses from The Sopranos started in OnlyFans as well.
really?
Yeah. I was like,
Wow.
wow, I guess things are not going great in Hollywood at this point for you. I don't know. Or it's something you've
Apparently
always
not.
wanted, whatever. I
But
worry about that. Like you get known for one big thing and then that's like that's who you are kind of thing. So
Yeah.
quit my job, start the talent agency. Hey, this could be something huge long term.
Yeah.
Best of
talk
luck.
to
It probably beats the Wire Factory, at least for this 5 minutes.
Right.
But-
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
that,
that was a weird like splashdown in the middle of like what some people are kind of concerned about, the end of the world with the upcoming presidency, you know, the election and what's going on in Europe right now, and you know, nuclear war on the horizon, and then Hawk Tuah shows up and just like
she spit on that thing, you know?
yeah, like a comet, and then all of a sudden, yeah, it was a weird. But I mean, distractions. You know,
Big time.
they'll push the algorithm on a girl who says Hawk Tuah into a camera, so that we're not paying attention to the fact that Joe Biden is saying Hawk Tuah in real life.
That's the most cringe shit. Speaking of, though, end of the world and the greatest president ever, Joe Biden. It's hard to say with a straight face. I picked up a quote from a couple days ago from Bernie Sanders speaking on Joe Biden.
This ought to be good.
Here's the quote. And I agree with Bernie Sanders on this for what it's worth.
Old men on old men.
Yeah. Bernie Sanders says, quote, what I think is best for him, speaking of Joe Biden, to get out, to talk to people, to do town meetings, to do press conferences, and let the people decide. That's how I think you determine cognitive ability. End quote. Yeah, buddy. I do too.
No,
I think it would be great. I think it would be a great thing for him to
probably the first time I've agreed with Bernie Sanders.
Be a cord cutter. Get away from that prompter, big guy. Get out there.
Yeah. Is this your contribution to defending woke logic?
In a bit, yeah. It is a bit, yeah. Because what better way to have the American people and world at large judge your cognitive ability than actually speaking your mind, which we saw a little bit of in the debate.
Yeah,
So,
we sure did.
I'm going to hammer you with some bullet points, and then I'll get to my feelings on it.
Okay.
Point number 1 I wrote. These are just free-form thoughts. You guys can love it or hate it. All right? Debate. Point 1. Biden cannot formulate a sentence, even when attempting to justify the 8% to potential 24 or 25% either number tax increase. Can't even justify a sentence on why that makes sense. I believe he's trying to justify taxing the rich based on the question. Didn't make sense. Point 2 on immigration. Trump dodges the direct question around who and how many undocumented aliens he will deport. Biden just says Trump's a liar about everything he just said and proceeds to babble on until he gets cut short on time. So not a whole lot of information on the immigration piece, because I think it's a little crowd controlling from Camp Trump, so to speak, which he later said, by the way, that he was like, I didn't even want to run again. I'd rather be relaxing, but you quintessentially screwed the country up so bad. Here I am, and my polls are reflecting that people want me back. So that's why we're doing this. This felt like a roast. It didn't feel like a debate, by the way.
100%.
Just throwing that out there. Ukraine. Nobody answers how they're going to end this mess or stay out of it or anything. Trump notes that he will have the war settled before he takes office as president-elect in January. Speaking of January 6th, Trump notes that he thinks we were better off then and offered National Guard support because everyone could feel it. I assume he meant the tensions rising on that day after the speech. Says, hey man, I offered support. I offered National Guard to a bunch of different places. I have it in writing that the mayor of DC said, I don't need it, whatever. And then there's some weird
Nancy Pelosi
documentary allegedly where Nancy Pelosi says, oh, this is all my fault. I would love to see it, but I'm probably not going to. This felt like a blame game, and this is American politics now. And I just wasn't really impressed with any of it. Again, Biden fires back with "you're a liar" and "come on, man," which is like his favorite quote when he has nothing to say. Addressing concerns about doing this job well into your 80s if reelected for President Biden. Babbles a bit, tries to get to a point, and I watched this 3 times, tries to get to a point. And then just starts going on about all the jobs he's created and the deals he's made to reinvest in America. Something about giving money to Samsung, which is a South Korean company. Like, I have no idea. There was no point, and they cut him off to save time and save face, apparently.
Yeah.
Trump says he's in great health. He can golf really well, and he's in great shape and took several cognitive tests. Biden goes in on Trump's weight and golf handicap. At this point, I'm furious. I'm like, this is reality television, not American politics, but that's where we're at. And for Biden, for what it's worth, man, a lot of resting 25th Amendment face from Joe Biden, just constantly, like there was talk, bro, and I'm not joking, in big media about giving Biden a pre-debate shot with like a cocktail of drugs to help him stay alert, or like Ritalin and
Adderall is basically
Adderall
what they're feeding that guy like Tic Tacs.
I really truly Trump made some good points that I wanted him to make.
Yeah.
I think he really like tempered the fire back the way that he was actively antagonistic toward Hillary Clinton a few years ago.
Yeah.
We saw a very different Trump.
Yeah.
I think he's kind of just shrugging, going like, I can kind of say whatever the fuck I want because, like, look at who I'm trying to debate here, which
Right.
was a pretty good strategy, all things considered. That
Yeah.
said, it still felt like very ego driven from both guys. Like, we're talking about golf games. Like, call me a traditionalist, but I just don't want to hear it. I don't fucking want to hear it. Like, I want to hear about as direct as one could get in a debate because all the answers are evasive and you have to go into that expecting it. I would like to hear what you have to say about foreign policy. I would like to hear what your thoughts are on Russia, Ukraine, and now Israel and Hamas and you know,
Right.
the debt and the fucking APR where it's at right now and all the you know, in my sector of work, the amount of jobs that are being cut. And I just didn't see any of it, dude. And it was kind of,
Well,
to me, lackluster.
to be fair, and I agree with a lot of the points you made.
Yeah.
I actually fully enjoyed it, and I thought that,
Like in a popcorn kind of way.
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I think that obviously everything he said about Biden has been reflected in the media. They're in full panic mode. It was the worst disastrous situation for him ever. But if we're just talking about Trump's performance, I actually fully enjoyed it. I thought that his reservation was, like you said, a good strategy. I think that they put the timers on, and he tried to give the answers he could, knowing full well that they were looking to cut him off on anything. He also, I mean, this is traditionally there's, three debates typically prior to the election.
Yeah.
The first one is typically a softball debate, and then you start cutting into the weeds in the second and third one. So you were going to be getting kind of lighter answers in a first debate. Now, is there going to be a second debate? That's yet to be determined. The Biden administration has said that they're all for it, which baffles everybody. But and Trump's like, really? You want to go again?
Irrational
Okay.
confidence, maybe?
Right. But I think actually he did really well in his reservation. Now, the one thing that I did see that the golf thing I found entertaining because I thought it was hilarious, but him going, he's never ever had an 8 handicap. That's crazy. But I just thought it was funny, but in the comedic way of like, this whole thing is a farce. I might as well talk about golf. This is crazy. But
I think when you watch social media things and you get commercial breaks, those commercial breaks can be up to 3 minutes. So having CNN set a 2-minute timer deadline, like what point could we possibly get across that isn't bylines and slogans and
that's exactly
zingers?
it.
And
so
I knew that going in,
he
right?
had to work those in.
Yeah, I knew that part, but yeah, I was just kind of like, it felt like they weren't taking it as serious as I would have maybe hoped that so I'm looking forward to potentially a rematch.
Yeah, well, Trump's
what
going
it's
to
worth.
have to. Yeah, Trump's going to have a long form situation. He speaks long form, which is why he does the rallies where he can't be interrupted and he can get to those points in the long form versions, which he does. So, but when he's up against CNN, who is an enemy in and of itself to him,
Right.
on a platform where they've completely tried to make it cater towards Biden, even though it actually worked in reverse. And because he would ramble and they would cut him off and make him look like a moron. And then it would give Trump an ability to come in right after a rambling and throw a quip in and then go in. It didn't work for them. And it actually made Biden look worse and Trump look better. And he actually did a really good job of not using the time, taking the bait, or like not go. I mean, there was countless times where Biden got obviously flustered and frustrated, and well, he's a liar. He's everything he says is a lie, But Trump did a really good job of staying more measured than I've ever seen him. And
That's one thing I'll tip the cap to, is he was very reserved compared to the bombastic attack pattern we've seen out of this man on the campaign trails of yesteryear. I think the bravest thing and the most admirable thing that CNN did throughout all of this was they left the comment section turned on the videos of the debate when they left.
I didn't know that.
YouTube.
Wow.
Holy shit. That's,
I can.
you want comedy, go check that out.
I'm going to look into that.
It's just I think there's 6 or 7 mainstream videos they cut on that, just promos and then the actual one. And it's like, you get everything from elder abuse to things I won't repeat, but so where do we go from here? Like, because
that's the thing.
The big question in the DMC right now is, do we let Biden run or do we replace Biden with somebody else? We're
supposed to find out by this weekend or the DNC, but that's the thing, is that the meltdown that's happened afterwards, normies like my grandmother, who I just visited, who thought that Biden was, she's being told by MSNBC and by CNN that for the last 2 years that he's not in a cognitive slip or decline. That he is actually sharp, and they've been providing cover for him. They just got to see in real time that they've been lied to for 2 years. And that is across the board, across the country. Anybody who was in his camp, like, except for the extreme zealots, they've all went, oh no. And everybody within the DNC, everybody within Congress, everybody within Washington is now going, this is a nightmare scenario. What do we do now? And they're looking down their roster, and they've got Michelle Obama, they've got Newsom,
Gavin
they've got
Newsom.
Gretchen Whitmer.
And what office has Michelle Obama held prior to this? Just
literally zero.
Oh, okay.
And
I was hoping there'd be a resume there. That's their roster of possibilities for real. Is just playing on the name
Whitmer's
recognition.
been thrown in there.
Wow.
Yeah. And right now they're all, every single one of them, and Kamala Harris, they're all polling dramatically lower than even Biden. And so they're in a spiral right now. They don't know what to do. They know that they got to get Biden out, but they don't know who they got to get in. They all have a different idea of who that's going to be, and they don't have enough time to come together. The DNC is going to be a very, very interesting turning point for this election, because that's when they get to decide who the delegate's going to be, because they changed the rules a couple of years ago, where even though he got all of the nominations from all of the primary, that throughout the United States, that he got all of them, that doesn't determine who the delegate is. That doesn't determine who they send off to be president. They changed their rules. And so
feels a little baity and switchy to the American people, but they're going to have to pull the 25th Amendment on this one, don't you think?
Well, if they do, then what they're in a bind, because if they pull the 25th Amendment, then that automatically puts Kamala Harris in at the helm.
Yep.
They cannot allow that to happen. She polls worse than he does, and they do not need, from kind of a woke sensibility, from their perspective, they cannot allow Kamala Harris to be the face of the first female president or female president of color. They can't allow her to be that. They can't, that is historically impossible for them to allow. And so they're just like, what do we do? We've got to get her to resign first, then 25th Amendment him after we've replaced her, to bring up whoever we replaced her with.
And they're on the
clock.
clock.
We have the time. They're on the clock. Like, how are they going to pull this off? Right. So it's going to be interesting the next, especially 2 months.
Yeah.
To see what happens.
Back when we did the draft on this show, I had surmised there was a period of time in that wavelength, a lot's happened, where Gavin Newsom had a debate against the Florida governor. Help me out.
Right. DeSantis,
thanks. And I was like, there's no point to this. Nobody gives a shit. DeSantis is going to fold out of the Republican convention for a nomination. Except for, I think this is screen time and training for Gavin Newsom. I
Mhm.
think they're like cultivating a roster, so to speak, for obvious reasons. And
Yeah.
but I think he would get absolutely cooked right now.
100%. Yeah. His reputation right now is in the gutter.
Very bad.
Yeah. Even amongst Democrats, because they're just like, he's just first of all, a young, slimy car salesman white guy. It is the antithesis of what they're looking for. So, and then on top of that, his track record is screwing over people and going to the French Laundry for dinner. His track record is destroying California. His track record is being caught over and over again in lies. He's not a solid candidate, but he's the best of the group that they have. So what are they going to do? If
they're not
he's
going to
the
call
best of the best-
AOC and ask her if she wants to. Just kidding.
Yeah, she's made too many enemies amongst the
Everyone.
Jewish coalitions
Yeah.
and the warmongers, and she's
Everyone
she's
working
not-
in New York State during COVID.
Right. Yeah.
The list
So-
continues. I am personally tickled to see the scramble for good content value. I am saddened that this is the state of politics in the United States. I'll be honest there. Like, yeah, that's I couldn't even give you a name. I couldn't even tell you like who I think would be the next best bet that would have a hope of succeeding Joe Biden's term 2 if they rip and replace. And how they would pull that lever is beyond me without the 25th Amendment, which would require Kamala Harris to resign, which I doubt she's interested in doing.
Well, let's war game this. What if they offer her some type of judgeship or a different type of cabinet seat to try to and give her a bunch of money, or however they manage to get her away, and then they pull in like an RFK Jr.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. That's the only name I could think of.
It's their only saving grace. It's the only way that they would be able to even possibly pose a challenge. And then 25th Amendment Biden out, and then RFK's the pick. But a lot of the Democrats do not like RFK because of his stance on the vaccine stuff, on kind of freedom of speech stuff. They don't like him in those regards. It's kind of your middle of the road kind of libertarian people who actually like him, and there's just plain and simply not enough of them that aren't already siding with Trump for him to win anyway. But he'd have a better chance than any of these other yahoos. So
I think it's passable for domestic rhetoric, dude, but it would be fearful to see RFK take a swing at foreign policy in the state of the world right now.
Yeah, I don't know, man. Like, it is going to be quite the storm that we're chasing right now.
So here's the thing that works me up the most is the convictions on the Trump side and we're going after political opponents and all the rules we can conveniently break from the DMC side out to the rest of the world that people seem to give 2 squirts of piss about in the grand scheme of things, which they should care much, much more than they do. That said, how does this play out on the Republican side for Donald Trump being now convicted of 34 felony counts in a district court in DC or whatever? Right. There's going to be an appeals process, but save for all of that, like, what's next on the other side, in your opinion?
Well, first of all, his base just doesn't care. I saw, on the 4th of July, I think I saw dozens and dozens of T-shirts that said "I'm voting for a felon." So it really, the fact that even people on the other side know that it's a joke, and then also with the Supreme Court ruling, with the immunity ruling, it may flip that decision anyway. So none of that will even get tacked on or apply, and it may actually absolutely cook all of the other cases that are up against him right now. Does that not mean, as Biden very very much implied in the debate that there's more in the wings waiting, that there's more that they, if these don't stick, they've got a whole bunch of other accusations and charges to throw at him, to just keep him in litigation and keep him tied up in courts.
It's how they do it at the
Probably.
state level.
Yeah, so I would imagine that's probably going to happen. None of it will matter to the people who follow Trump. Like literally not a single bit of it. And because they know that it's all political and it's all fake. They don't care. They don't care. They see that the judicial system has become broken and corrupt, and that it is being weaponized, and they refuse to acknowledge its authority when it comes to people who are being politically targeted and
motivated by politically motivated antagonists.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, I think that in the future coming up, I don't know. I think that you're going to probably start seeing a wave of retaliatory lawsuits coming from red states and red counties because they realized, oh, if they can do it, so can we.
That's the point I was hoping we'd get to, especially with voter integrity.
It's already starting. Yeah, it's already beginning.
Yep.
So there's already a bunch of them building up, and a lot of the AGs are realizing, oh, I can actually from the ground that I stand on, throw charges on somebody in another state for something that impacted the country in in some capacity, like they did to Trump, but with real law and actual real crimes that were committed. We can actually do this and then put them in front of a jury of our peers instead of a bunch of DC elites that, or a highly blue area where we know we're gonna,
some cabal of special interests.
Right. So now we can actually do that too. And so you're starting to see a groundswell of that happening throughout the country where it is picking up steam, and they're gonna start using the very justice system that has been weaponized against Trump and the conservatives, that they're going to start throwing it back at them twice as hard. And it's not going to be pretty, but I don't see it not ending in a kind of civil unrest, to say the least, because once you start throwing lawfare around at that level, and
we're shades away from additional peaceful protests.
Right.
That part unnerves me. I'm also keenly unaware of the future state of the Republican Party, because if Donald Trump wins as president-elect going into this January, that's it. That'd be his second term. So who's got to step
in the wings?
Who's got to step up and be media darling for the next 4 years on the Republican Party that has a chance of bringing some semblance of normalcy back to U.S. politics from the Conservative Party?
Well, the going theory right now, and it could be completely wrong, but it is the strongest going theory right now, is we have to wait until Trump picks a VP. And that VP, as of right now, the top contender is Dr. Ben Carson. And I'm all for it. I think that would be a great VP pick. He's a very intelligent and measured man, and would be a great yin to Trump's yang. And I think it would be a very wise decision. That being said, that's where we'll start to see, and we'll probably start to see the shuffle after, if and when Trump gets elected, the shuffle will begin, and we will start seeing different personalities come to the top, whether it be a Kristi Noem, whether it be a DeSantis, whether it be a Vivek Ramaswamy, whether it be, a whole cadre of Kash Patels, or whoever kind of got some political sense to them within the Republican sphere. They'll probably start to rise to the surface because they know they got 3 years to really start getting the momentum going. And you'll start seeing that kind of neck and neck poking up, a lot more public statements, a lot more, and we'll probably see multiple front runners. The fact is that the Republican bench is far, far deeper. I mean, you got Tucker Carlson, you've got Charlie Kirk, you've got all of these other kind of personalities, and we're kind of getting into the era again.
Josh Hawley, Rand Paul,
all of them.
Dan Crenshaw. There's a lot of junior politicians.
Right. There's a ton of them out there that, like, the bench is much deeper on the Republican side as far as like conservative value followers, whether they're political or pundit or, you know, somewhere even off in the
Speaking
you
of
know, like,
speaking of Hawley, though, real quick, you see him go after Boeing CEO in the hearing?
yeah.
Oh my God,
man.
that was fun.
Yeah.
That was a good time.
Yeah, he's not quite Trey Gowdy, but he's up there.
Yeah,
So
there's an elegance to his assholery that I find fun to watch.
yeah.
No,
sure.
I appreciate you entertaining that, because those are the names that I'm thinking of as well. But I just it would be really great if there was a bench that we could see and start to follow, because I think the quality of candidates over the last few elections just continues to decline, and you know,
I can guarantee you what we won't have is an 80-year-old man in the next election.
I should certainly hope not.
Yeah,
I should certainly hope not.
That's a guarantee. They just the public won't allow it, but the kingmakers in charge, who are the ones who kind of put in front of us the figures that we're supposed to pick from.
Right.
When it all comes down to it, they're going to recognize that there is no taste for 80-year-old men anymore. That there will be such a heavy pushback on it that their reputations and money will be completely gone if that's who they put in front of us.
And
so,
for what it's worth, like, I'm not a big anti-old guy.
Not really. Yeah,
it's hard to say.
There's wisdom to a certain degree. There's wisdom that comes along with that age. So
I'm very
it's just once
anti-career politician old guy. Like, you know, I did a whole breakdown of all of the times Joe Biden has voted for and then subsequently against and then back for specific things throughout his whole career, where as the wind blows, so does Joe Biden's attention and effort and all this. The career politician Pelosi, you can count among them. Who's the House Majority Leader from Kentucky?
Mitch McConnell.
McConnell is another one. Like, it's the
what happened to Turtle Man? Is he? I haven't heard from him in a while. Is he out? Like, did he die?
Unknown.
Yeah.
But that's my point. Like, we're hearing from other politicians that seem like they have, you know, great sense. You know, you mentioned it's Mike Johnson, right? Speaker of the House.
Yeah, Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson.
You know, great. It sends a strongly worded tweet yesterday about you know, the voter protection bill that the Republicans sponsored that Joe Biden and friends are going to promptly veto right away, about needing to be, you know, a U.S. national to cast a vote. And it's like, that's great, Johnson, but do something about it. Are you not the person that can kind of hold the keys to some of the financing that goes on for around all the other things? Thusly, did you not cast a vote to promote more billions of dollars to go out to Ukraine, like in a matter of a month ago or less, if memory serves correctly? Like, you know,
that's been a significant letdown,
right?
Not that I had a whole lot of. I mean, I didn't know who he was until they started.
Nobody knew who he
Speaker
was.
Of the House. Right? And so,
like,
but
who's this Johnson?
So he didn't really let me down. He's status quo.
He rose up to disappoint, but. You know where I'm going with it. It's just like, I wish there was a lot more to this that was taken seriously. It seems you know, call me an old guy about this, but it feels like we're headed barreling further and further toward reality television and further away from American politics as I know them. And I'm having trouble adapting and digesting that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
Anyway,
actually, here in Idaho, we actually just had. I think it happened today. if not, yeah, it must have been today. Our governor, Brad Little, actually just
Great guy, that Brad Little.
yeah, he's as rhino as he comes, but man, the guy every once in a while will throw us a bone to kind of save his own skin.
Sure.
You know, and in this particular case, he actually, and I don't know the background behind it. There's probably a lot. I will have to ask some of the friends in the know on this, but. He actually just said that he's putting forth a decree of some kind saying that Idaho, you have to prove citizenship to actually vote in the state of Idaho, which is an obvious, gimme, but at the same time, is it though within the United States?
But that's what Arizona did, except for federal elections. They're like, we can't, we the state can't mandate that you prove citizenship and shit for, like, just to let you know, we can't ask you to prove that stuff if you somehow vote in a federal election. Just not that you would, but just saying if you were to do that, we couldn't get you for it. Not that that's okay, but you could do that. But we're not saying, but you totally could do that, but we can't. But at the state level, you have to have a state ID and stuff because, state. But the federal piece, come on in and try. We can't do anything about it, but don't.
Well,
so that feels very Arizona-y to me with that said. But, if he's as rhino as our Joe Lombardo, perhaps they're having lunch together on a routine basis for shit like this. Who knows?
I would imagine, yeah. So, but yeah, I'll take a look at it and kind of come back with an update on that one. But yeah.
4th of July stuff.
Yeah. Oh,
National news. Our boy. What happened?
Yeah. Well, so
we're an hour in and we get to national news. Go for it.
Well, as things happen up here in the panhandle of Idaho,
sure does.
We seem to keep catching attention for being ornery.
Radicals,
guess.
You are. I keep hearing.
Radically ornery.
Rabble, rousing, all the shit.
And so every year we have a really fun 4th of July parade. It takes about 2 hours. It's well attended. And it's just a fun 4th of July parade. They do the fireworks on the lake at night, but the 4th of July parade kind of starts the day. The seaplanes come over and then it starts the parade and it's about 2 hours. And I don't even know how many floats, 60 some odd floats.
This is a town of about 500,000 census ballpark.
Yeah, about that.
All right.
Yeah, countywide. But so and the street, Sherman Avenue is all lined up with people on both sides, just packed to the gills, and Aaron and I will typically walk with, we'll choose a float because a lot of people want us to walk with them. And so we'll choose a float and it's typically something political or whatever. And,
is there like a sorting hat process to that selection or?
No, it's just whoever's not mad at us this week.
Fair enough.
This year. So, but in this particular case, we've been working with
this week.
Yeah, this Senator Taves and Kate Hartley of the Pacific Justice Center. She is a lawyer, and she actually has won some pretty prominent cases lately, like the kid in Kellogg who got booted from his graduation for saying boys are boys and girls are girls at his speech. They just settled. He won for an undisclosed amount of money, but it was worth it, and they had to make a public apology.
Free speech prevails in Idaho State after litigation.
Right. So, and Kate Hartley was at the helm of that. So, but Kate Hartley and Senator Ben Taves and a couple of other people, Stephanie Fetzer and a couple other, are part of this organization called tradfam.org. And it's a 501c3, I think, or 4, I can't remember. Maybe both.
Chat says Kootenai County Spectator Coeur d'Alene has a population of about 55,000. Kootenai County has approximately 187. Nowhere near 500,000. So I was off a little bit.
Somebody said that in the chat, huh?
They did. Thank you.
So that being said,
correction saved.
So these people have created this tradfam.org, and basically it's this organization to really promote and celebrate traditional family values. And you can go to tradfam.org if you want to look it up. It's actually pretty cool. And what they really want to do is actually create a month-long celebration where from Mother's Day to Father's Day, they celebrate traditional family values. And tradfam.org, like basically week 1 would celebrate motherhood, week 2 would celebrate sons, brothers, and uncles, week 3 would celebrate grandparents, and week 4 would celebrate daughters, sisters, and aunts, and week 5 would celebrate fatherhood and the marriage between a man and a woman. And just something that is wholesome, God-based, and kind of brings us back to the traditions of the nuclear family and what this country was built on and founded on. And we've been trying to get it through Idaho legislation. It got shelved this last session. We're going to be pushing it again next year. And we're trying to get all the city mayors and stuff to actually declare it and actually create within the cities of Idaho to actually start promoting and actually bring this on as a policy within the cities. And so every year, for the last 3 years, we've had a float. Well, because of the hoax thing that happened, remember?
Oh, yeah.
If for the audience, we had the Utah basketball team. Turned out there was a hoax. They think they got one kid maybe saying something, but they've decided to blow this up into a situation that isn't. And so now what they've got is a couple weeks ago, they decided our city council or Coeur d'Alene City Council decided to put together a ordinance, a hate speech, hate crime ordinance, which they tried to write out the definition of what that is, but it's as vague and loose as you could possibly imagine, with it being up to the determining factor of a prosecutor or judge as to whether or not it even applies. There's no disciplinary action for it. They just will tack it on to another crime if they so choose. Big uproar about it. Like you're basically just looking to target people who 100%. You don't like, and so
for reasons that you can create on the fly.
Yep, exactly. Yep. And so there's been a big uproar about it. In tandem with that, the Chamber of Commerce, who always is the one who organizes and hosts the Coeur d'Alene 4th of July parade every year for, I don't know, like probably 2 decades now, they arbitrarily and completely disconnected from the city council, who basically, they've got their own board of directors and such, but they take their lead from the city that is hosting them, and that, they're a private organization.
We're not the same. We've rendered our t-shirts purple. Yeah, yes. Exactly.
And so they just happened to make a new bylaw within the structure of the rules for the parade, which is that they are banning all religious iconography, all of it. Like there will not be allowed to be anything outside of an American flag at all. You cannot put up any other religious iconography, no crosses, nothing. And there's a bunch of churches that are a part of this parade and have been for years. And they're like, they tried to do it in the sly. And they changed it on their website, but of course people are monitoring it because they're new to the parade and they're trying to figure it out. And they're like, hey, what's this? And then they get caught and there's a big social media uproar about it. So then they take it down and switch it and make it, and it disappears, that new rule. And then they switch it back and put the rule back up, all within a matter of a couple of days. And so then it becomes this big heated debate of like, what are they doing? And they try to wiggle around it and say, oh, it's just for safety and and all of these things, like, oh, we just want to make sure everything's inclusive. And we're like, by excluding people and excluding stuff, you want, okay. So tell me this, is the Coeur d'Alene tribe that has a cross in their emblem, are they going to be told that they can't fly their flag? How about, are there going to be any pride flags? Are they going to be able to like fly pride flags, or are we just the only ones who can't fly our flags
Right,
for our
because
beliefs?
religious iconography, right?
Right, absolutely. So now it gets to a blistering point where, there was, we were a part of a meeting with the, with the trad fam group and a couple of the bigger kind of church leaders in the area and stuff like that, and getting some local and state and U.S. senators and congressmen on board to go, hey, do you know this is going on? Contacting big media like OAN and a couple of other couple of organizations, and really started making phone calls to, and then pressuring other church leaders in the area to call in and have people write in and email the Chamber of Commerce saying, you can do this legally because you are a private organization.
I'm sure that exploded with response.
Oh, huge, massive, to the point where it buckled within a matter of hours. We had our meeting in the morning. It was a 5-hour meeting. By the time we got home, it was probably 3, maybe 4 hours later. We were getting messages from everybody going, they've backed off. They're completely changing everything now. And so they backed off, but we're like, we're still going hard. So we bought, because we have this guy named Robbie, who is associate pastor with Heart of the City here, and every year he has Christ Fit, which is his gym, and he's a Marine, a military vet, and every year he carries this like 11-foot wooden cross at the front of the parade, or our float, the Trad Fad float, and he carries it all the way down. And this year, they were threatening to arrest him within the time frame of us having our meeting, and Robbie was part of our meeting, that if he brought a cross and carried that cross, that people who were in the organization were saying that we will actually have the police come and arrest you. And he said, you're going to have to pry it from my cold dead hands. I'm taking that cross down the road, and you're not going to stop me. And if the thing is that if the Chamber of Commerce, as an organization, being a private organization, can discriminate, but the city cannot.
Right.
But they got a permit for this, even though it's on public access. If they had gotten the police involved to arrest him, it would have then incorporated the city. Lawsuits would have began, which is what we told them. And so they realized they were kind of stuck in a rock and a hard place, and they backed off of everything. But what we ended up doing was showing up in force anyway. Almost every float in the parade, not all of them, but almost every one of them, had some type of cross or a bunch of people with crosses.
Good for you.
Our particular float was, I think, the biggest float in Coeur d'Alene float or parade history. We had between 400 and 500 people there, and there were hundreds and hundreds of crosses. And it was literally from end to end, because I was helping run security for our float and just keeping the perimeter and keeping bad players out who were trying to get in and get photo ops to tag like America First and Groiper stuff to it. Right. So I was keeping them out. But what ended up happening was we got a standing ovation from the very beginning of the float to the very end of the parade. And it was so amazing to see the community respond that way. It showed them, not only at the Chamber of Commerce, but the city council and the paper and everybody else, what the community actually thought, because the standing ovation was so overwhelming, they couldn't hear 2 floats in front of us and behind us because of the cheering and the standing and the clapping and the wooing. And it was so overwhelming that it made the Chamber of Commerce put out a statement today saying that they no longer want to participate in the planning and organization of the parade anymore. And so it was an incredible response to see that the community is hungry for this traditional family values, that they're hungry for the cross, and they're hungry for standing up against this type of tyrannical push. It's still there. That fire's still there.
This is not the first time Coeur d'Alene has done this as well.
And I'm glad to see that fire's still lit in them, that even though things have settled, the dust is settling and quieting down from COVID or Gun Lane or any of these other things that seem to come up around here and we kind of push back on real hard. It is remarkable to see that fire is still here within our people here, and that they are not going to put up with this. Good. Every time it's tested, every time they go to try to poke the border and go, stick their toe over the edge, we slam back on them and go, you're not doing this here. We already told you, and we're going to keep telling you, you need to stop. This is not a place for you to take root, and we will not allow it.
So does this open up the doors for other people to sponsor the parade next year?
Well, it's not necessarily a sponsorship, because there's a lot of sponsorships. It's the actual organizers.
Right.
Yeah. And in fact, and I cannot confirm this in any way, shape, or form, we have gotten word through the grapevine, and I don't know if other people within the organization have gotten more definitive confirmation, but from what we've been told is that by the rumor mill is that the Chamber of Commerce wants to give it to Trad Fam to be the ones who organize the whole thing.
Oh, wow.
Now,
what a turn of events that would be, eh?
Right. Now, do I see it as possibly a trap? Yeah, I do, but it's also a great opportunity if done well, if we have legal in the wings waiting for any trap that comes our way. But man, what better way to get the message out than to be the ones organizing on a state level, to get the visibility of it culturally for the area. There's so much good that could come from it if it's done properly and planned properly. I mean, the logistics alone of operating the entirety of not just your float is enough, but doing the whole parade. The logistics are huge, and they're gonna try to get back at the organization in whatever way they can by creating traps and pitfalls and go, oh, so you want to let the Satanists in? Do you want to let this abortion group in? Oh, you're going to discriminate? So there's going to be those kind of traps that we're going to have to navigate properly if they decide to even take it. It may not be in the purview at all of what Trad Fam's kind of mission statement is to take over a parade, but it would be a great opportunity to really put forth the message on a much bigger scale and get more national coverage. Because I mean, if they're the ones running the parade and it goes well, but that's a year away, a lot of ducks to get in a row, and based off of a rumor. So I'm speculating beyond speculation on that, so it's not at all. I just think it's fascinating that that's the direction that it might be taking.
Oh, totally. Yeah, I'm reading about it as you're talking about it in the USA Today.
Yeah, they tried to. I think I looked at the USA Today story where they tried to fact check it.
Yeah,
and the fact check is wrong, but that's what you get with USA Today. But yeah, the Western Journal even, officials attempted to ban crosses and other religious symbols from July 4th parade, but it didn't work out so well. And there's a video that's been going viral. It's last we've checked. And there was a lady, somebody Davis Court reposted it. I can't remember her name, but she actually took another video from another local group here that I don't like to promote, but I had kicked him out, and he actually took video from the sideline to try to basically promote himself. He gave no indicator at all of what organization he was filming. He did not give them a plug at all. He just wanted to kind of plug himself and go, look at how great we are with all our crosses in Coeur d'Alene. Did not plug our organization. So, but within that film that he did take, and this lady took it and re-uploaded.
Chat says from Kootenai County Spectator, it is Katie Davis Court and
Rebel
Media.
Oh yeah, out of Seattle.
Yeah.
And so she took the video, downloaded it, and re-uploaded it. So he's not getting the clicks and views, but she did give him credit. So, and which is fine. That works out well. But in that video, how many, hey, chat, can you tell me how many views that video now has? Last I heard, it was above 5 million, but that was last I heard, and that was a couple days ago. But it's gone everywhere. It's gone massively viral. And right in the middle of the video is me walking by with my tricorn hat on.
Oh, that's so sick. Every time I see you photographed in that hat, I think, now there's a man that knows how to find the swashbuckle section at a Blockbuster Video. If there was ever a swashbuckling section, this guy knows exactly where to find it.
And yes, that is accurate.
Yeah, and also you've been made a moderator to our YouTube channel, KC Spectator. So if you want to post the link to that video, you're welcome to do so.
So yeah,
that's fantastic.
But it was an incredible experience, and so we've been very fortunate. It was a big win for our community. It was a big win for TradFam organization. It was a big win for the faith in general, and just the fact that the fire of the pushback on the encroachment of our religious freedoms is still alive, and I hope it inspires beyond our county again. Much like
and
Wayne,
I hope the public feedback is overwhelmingly positive as well. You know,
it has been, yeah.
So
yeah, for sure.
Yeah, what a bunch of jackals, man.
And they try to disguise it as them being protective, but apparently it didn't matter the last couple of years that TradFam was there and Robbie went walking down the road with a cross. All of a sudden this year it matters.
That was before there were hate crimes. Yeah.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. And now it's just basically them trying to stifle the loud voices who are going to proclaim the name of Jesus within this town. Mm-hmm. It hurts their core, and they have to do something about it. Well, and they're trying every angle that they can.
Let's be honest. If you have a parade with a bunch of nonprofits, a bunch of churches, I assume you're going to have one or two that are sponsored or presented by, real estate offices and, construction teams and stuff like that. It's more likely than not. Let's just take the Kootenai County tribe out of the equation for a minute. You're going to have a lot of religious iconography in, business logos, church logos. There's going to be, to say that that's banned on a whim from a private party, and who at the chamber is stepping up to defend this as a good idea? Because they had to have been the entirety of the chamber saying, yeah, we agree to this, which are typically business owners, right?
Well, there was some pushback within the chamber, from what I understand, when they found out what the committee, the specific parade committee was doing, because they were all on board.
Thank you, Casey Spectator. She says Davis Court's original tweet has 4.3 million views, 20.3 thousand retweets, and there's a link to it. So I encourage anyone on YouTube watching us, go check that out. Sorry to cut you off again. Go ahead.
No. But basically, there were committee members that were out, or committee members within the chamber, right? On the board. But the specific committee that deals with the parade, they were all on board with cutting out crosses. But when other committee members, board members found out, they were actually prominent members within different churches, and some of them even pastors. When they found out, they were furious to the point where they were threatening to resign and go. So there was pressure from the outside and the inside to get them to not do this. But I mean, just the incremental inching forward that they do every time.
It's a ballsy move.
They may have known that they weren't going to get away with this, but just putting it on the table and making people have to deal with it is inching it forward. And so we have to be able to, every time they do that, roll them back to, instead of they inch one, we roll them back two. And that's what we've got to do with this fight, because now it's in the public sphere. Now it's even in the subconscious of the community that there's a possibility to even do this.
That stuff like this is attackable. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, this is
exactly.
gun control 101. Not to
Right.
go off on a big diatribe, but it's it's a war lost by a game of inches.
Yeah.
You
Exactly.
know? It's
And
minor
they made-
concessions. Yeah.
Yep. And they may have absolutely known that they weren't going to win this battle, but now it's in the public sphere. Now it's in the public consciousness. And now they know that if they get the conversation going, that maybe next year or the year after or the year after that, they're going to get all of the crosses taken out of city organized events. And if they can at all help it. So the pushback was so severe, though, that I think that they may have gotten in over their heads and didn't realize that the pushback would be that bad, or that they could at least steer the pushback and make it look like it was angry, and it wasn't, because we made sure that everyone within the organization knew, anybody who was marching with us, you need to understand, you need to be peaceful about this.
Yeah.
And they were, and it was fantastic. There was not a hiccup to the whole day, and so it was great.
Not that I'm a petty guy,
Yeah.
but one wonders if the Chamber of Commerce is a private organization and they may or may not be using the state seal as part of their personal iconography to promote their organization. I wonder if one could somehow find a way to trademark that grouping of words or a logo that does not represent the seal of the great state of Idaho or the county of Kootenai or the city of Coeur d'Alene, and formalize a documented religion out of it. So that way, if they do rear their ugly head, that anything that uses that trademarked image or grouping of words could be considered religious iconography that they would also not be able to use by showing up, having t-shirts, pens, caps, any of that stuff. So I don't know. Could be worth looking into. I'm not a legal guy, certainly not a petty guy. Not that I would.
We'll run it by Kate and see what happens.
Yeah, just saying.
Yeah.
But no, it's so it was a pretty eventful Fourth.
It was, yeah. And then we went over to some friends' houses and watched about 10, children have a watermelon eating contest.
Oh, how'd that go?
Three or four of them threw up.
There you go.
Like almost nearly immediately.
Yeah.
But
That's
yeah,
a hard
it was
fruit
fun.
to consume a lot of, it turns out.
Apparently not. I saw a couple 6-year-olds down an enormous amount of watermelon, and it was nauseating, to say the least. I was like, wow, because I love watermelon, but it was
I haven't seen any down here, man. We don't get and I grew up where my dad used to call them dinosaur eggs, watermelons.
Oh yeah.
And we don't have any dinosaur eggs here, but what I was able to successfully acquire was a pair of whole pineapples that I took all the eyes out of, and I smoked the living daylights out of that with cinnamon sticks wedged into it, and it was great. So I
that sounds so good.
did what I could do without use of a watermelon this year for the Fourth, but fun was had by all.
Yeah. Well, cool. Yeah. And then after that, we came home and my neighbors blew up a bunch of fireworks, and we had to drug the dogs because Cooper is terrified of all things, including his own shadow and the fire alarm in the house. But but Arthur, the one that we brought to your house, the Jack Russell, he wants to fight every single boom in the sky. And so he is like flexing and barking and trying to attack all of the booms. Like he is going to get them all. And so we had to drug the both of them to kind of calm them down. I have a vet friend who gave me some, I don't even know what it is. It's basically like dog like tranquilizer
Yeah.
light, I guess. I don't know, just
Like
to calm
Benadryl for
them down.
dogs or something?
Yeah,
Yeah.
something like that. I don't know. She's all, give them half of one of these, each one of them, and I was like, okay. And it
This
seemed
isn't
to
habit
help.
forming, is it?
Yeah,
Dogs doing the
like-
fentanyl lean in the kitchen, you know?
it didn't really work all that well. I
Yeah.
mean, it was okay. It did fine. I think it mellowed them both out a bit, but not entirely. But yeah, and then that was about it. That was our fourth, but we had a good one.
Nice. Well, I gotta grab the Gospel by Gen Z because I nearly forgot about it. But talk to us about a movie review because I know you had one coming up.
I do. I was looking forward to this movie because I like the franchise, or
Yeah.
I did. And
That's ominous.
yeah, because I've been a fan of, you know, sci-fi and monster films for so long that I was pretty excited. And I've got a friend that up here that I've done a lot of tattoo work on in this particular IP. And Godzilla is always been one of the things that I've loved. I've loved Godzilla. Ty loves Godzilla. He's got his whole body tattooed in Godzilla stuff, right? And starting back in, I don't even remember when it was, but it was the one with Bryan Cranston and that Aaron Johnson kid or whatever. The Godzilla remake franchise, right? And then even the first Kong movie, both of them were both fairly seriously toned, and as realistic as you can get a giant monster movie in, you know, and they did a really good job with those. As the franchises moved forward in the Godzilla realm and merged with Kong, it has gone so far off the rails that it is like the Fast and the Furious 9 or whichever one they go to the moon meets like the Meg 2 in its absurd insanity and time jump. Like nothing makes sense and they don't even try. So Godzilla and Kong the New Empire is what I watched the other night, and it was a fever dream of an acid trip in a kaleidoscope. It was insane.
Yeah.
It was absolutely bananas. Nothing made sense, and they did not try to make sense. They weren't even looking to make sense.
Yeah.
And it was all still within the life. Like the last one was nutty. The last one was crazy because it didn't make any sense about like going to Hollow Earth, but then Kong can like jump through and just be back to the surface within minutes, even though
like he can teleport.
Apparently,
This
they
is
didn't
great.
really explain.
Great
but
stuff.
This one is like, even beyond, it's still within the life frame of the little girl that was in the last movie. So we're not talking more than a couple of years in between each one. But now they have technology where they've got this like Ace Ventura pet veterinarian guy who's wearing like a red Hawaiian shirt. They even kind of make a mention of the fact that he looks like Ace Ventura.
Beautiful.
It's really weird. But he's this like swashbuckling veterinarian for the kaiju monsters. And they've got like these weird hover jets that are meant for dental work.
Kaiju monster.
Right. Meant for dental work, and you know, because Kong has a bad tooth and comes up from the core of the planet, which also the core of the planet doesn't make sense because where's the light source coming from anyway? But like they keep
Details. Yeah.
They keep just going deeper and deeper into subterranean caverns that, oh, well, this one isn't actually the bottom. This one is. But this one actually has a secret door with a jelly door that goes into this secret realm where this ancient people have lived forever. And they have been
beautiful.
sending out the
Subterranean
beacons.
ancient people through secret doors.
Right, yeah. And so, and it just keeps going and going, and you're all of a sudden you're in like a light bright kaleidoscope world where the ancient people live, where the little girl originated from, I guess, and came from. I don't know. It was so hard to make sense. Some of the CG, like on the monkeys, there's one scene where Kong is like meeting his this group of giant apes, which they thought he was the last one, but apparently under the crust of Hollow Earth, inside further, I guess that's where all the apes actually lived.
Okay.
And so he meets this like little baby one who like leads him along and sets up a trap for him where a bunch of the big ones try to attack him, but he's Kong, so he whoops all their butts. But during it, the baby monkey jumps on him and starts clawing at his face. So he grabs little monkey man, who's actually probably 40 feet tall, grabs little monkey man and starts using him as a club to beat the other monkeys with by his arm, just whacking him with this baby monkey, and then chucks him into a mountain. By the end of the movie, they're best friends. I don't know how that happened.
I love it.
I mean, it is so off the rails wild that it makes like the newer Jurassic Park movies look like Oscar nomination. It is crazy. Did I have fun watching it?
Yeah.
Yes, mainly out of just awe of like, what the hell are they doing? Like, what is this? I did not care to understand anything because it was obviously intended not to be understood. And some of the CG was good, but some of it was terrible. The pacing was awful. Like, there's a scene where, once again, like the portals going in between the two, right? It's the time jumps like that where the frost dragon at the center of the earth that they find. Wait.
So
yeah,
in the heat of the Earth's core lives a frost dragon.
Yes, he's one of the old gods that the big bad monkey man has kept trapped with a magic wand that puts him in pain. That he
the
keeps
wand.
As his yes.
Yep.
So, but
there's usually something to explain away, like why can we suddenly breathe in zero gravity in outer space? And they usually is because of the whatever device, and then it's like suddenly physics doesn't make sense. It's a magic wand. Okay,
it's a magic wand. Yeah. Yep. And so, the frost dragon attacks Godzilla, and it gives him frostbite on his hand and his arm, and he can't use it, and it's hurt. And so the team finally finds Kong, and they're like, "Oh, he's hurt. Like he's got frostbite." And they go, "Oh, but remember at the Hollow Earth base that was just destroyed, that we just came from because the monsters destroyed the base, that we had already had in production, the cybernetic arm stuff?
Yes.
Why it should be just right back at that base." So then
these are the scientists and dentists crew.
Yes.
Okay.
So then out of nowhere, because their pilot got eaten by a tree, so they were stranded there. They didn't know how they were going to get back.
Eaten by a tree?
Yes.
Okay.
No explanation, none needed.
All right. I'm with you. Still, somehow.
This other ship that they just called in picks up like Transformer robot, like bio arm, like from Pacific Rim, and just flies it over. And they just drop it, and it just like Iron Man, goes like all over his arm.
And we're still in the center of the Earth's core fighting it. And we're flying in. Okay, got it.
Yeah. And then it attaches to his arm, but for some reason, it also had within the structure of this thing two on each side, vials of radiation to cure by injecting him with radiation to cure his frostbite. So for whatever reason, it just that'll cure his frostbite, and and it cures his frostbite, but it gives him battle robot arm that he gets to use for the rest of the movie to help fight off Big Bad Monkey Man and the frost. Or the ice dragon, frost dragon thing.
I wouldn't have thought chemotherapy for frostbite, but there you have it.
Well, the whole world is based off of radiation therapy. That's Godzilla radiation, Kong radiation, stuff like that. It's their power juice, I guess. But it is such a departure from that Bryan Cranston original Godzilla
Yeah.
that started everything off. It escalated so fast and so poorly, but like at the same time, it's like watching a cartoon.
Yeah.
Like that's where we're at now with it. It is literally cartoon ethics, cartoon physics, cartoon like storyline, like cartoon pacing.
This
It's
is the
basically
part
just
where
a-
they like, where you're ready to hit the franchise reboot button. That's how far down.
Yeah.
Yeah, I gotcha.
Yeah, for sure. Yep.
Good
Yeah, so
lord.
it is.
So how
it
many
was
megs?
wild.
How many megs you got on this guy?
Man, I would probably just, out of 10 megs, I would probably give it about 4.5 megs. And it was watchable,
Yeah.
but only if you're willing to forego any seriousness to a giant, because you have to realize that you're like, this sucks, this is not what this is supposed to be, and then you realize, yeah, but I'm talking about a Godzilla movie, I'm talking about a King Kong movie.
Yeah.
And
What
if
is the
we
name
really
of this
wanna-
movie?
Godzilla X Kong: The New Empire.
Okay.
And when you look back into the 60s and 70s when they were originally making Godzilla movies, they were campy, they were goofy,
Right.
they were fun, they were weird. That was what it was intended to be originally. And I think the actual strain of the original content was actually making it serious.
Yeah.
And that we got used to the idea of trying to make it serious, and it doesn't work.
No.
And so
None of what you
this-
said works in my head, but I've got to
Yeah.
see it now.
Yeah, you'll get a laugh. I think you'll have fun with it as long as you're going into it knowing just, oh, okay, that happened.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, that happened, and just kind of roll with the punches of absurdity that this movie is a cornucopia of. So, but yeah, I'd say 4.5 to 5 stars, or 5 megs.
Wow.
Yeah. So
4.5
Yep.
megs from Modern Relics.
now there is 2 movies that I'm currently working on. The Beekeeper.
I just
So
watched The Beekeeper.
Ah, yeah.
Mhm.
I'm about third of the way through on that one.
Yeah.
I gotta finish that one up, and then the next one would be there is another Godzilla movie that's supposed to be pretty good, and it's Godzilla Plus One, and it's a Japanese Godzilla movie. So I have to sit down and actually watch it because it's all subtitled.
Subtitles.
I can't
yeah.
I can't put it in the background. But yeah, those are the 2 that are next on the chopping block for me. But I did watch The Gentleman.
The series or the movie?
No, the movie.
What'd you think?
And it was phenomenal.
Yeah.
And Guy Ritchie is my Quentin Tarantino.
Yeah.
Like, that guy could do no wrong in my eyes. Like, that movie was so good. I watched it on the way back home
Yeah.
from Boise, actually, and it was remarkable. Perfect Guy Ritchie movie.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm actually looking forward to watching the
the
series now.
series,
So,
good times. And I think he's like, he directs 1 or 2 of them, but he's like an executive producer on the whole show. Obviously, it is predicated around the same idea that you witnessed in the movie. McConaughey and Friends, it was a super good, super fun watch. I'm glad you got to see that.
Yeah.
And then I also watched a Guy Ritchie movie called The Ministry of Ungentlemanly Warfare.
oh, yeah.
It's fucking rad.
Okay, that one just came out, right?
Yeah.
And that's a Henry Cavill in that one.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
I gotta watch that too. That one.
It's a damn good time. It is sort of Guy Ritchie's very British attempt at what was that Tarantino film, Inglourious Bastards?
Oh yeah,
It's
yeah.
sort of his Inglourious Bastards. I recognize by saying that that's kind of there's a stretch to that, but it's in the same vein.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, and it's really fun. It is really,
Okay.
really fun. And
I will-
great actors in it too.
Yeah, I heard the cast is pretty remarkable in that one.
Yeah. Yep. You remember actually in Inglorious Bastards, you remember Hugo Stiglitz?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's the main antagonist in this film.
Okay.
Yeah, good times. You'll love it.
Can do.
Yeah,
I'm looking forward
Gentleman
to
was
that one.
good, dude. It's high on the rewatch value for me too. I think the dialogue's sharp, the pacing's fucking sweet. Seeing
Yeah. 8.5 megs for me on that one.
Oh, dude, yeah, easy. Who's the Irish guy in there? I'm brain dead right now. The guy that plays the Penguin in the new The Batman.
Oh yeah, Colin Farrell.
Colin Farrell's great, and then the guy from the motorcycle show that we like a lot. Hunnam, is that his name? Charlie Hunnam.
Charlie Hunnam, yeah.
He did
he's
great in that
awesome.
too. So
yeah, he's Charlie Hunnam's becoming the Johnny Depp to Tim Burton.
yeah,
You know, he's becoming what's the director's name? Why am I
Guy
blanking?
Ritchie?
Guy Ritchie's Johnny Depp,
Yeah,
basically, is Charlie Hunnam's new voice in there. So, which is good. He's great in all of his films, so I like that. But
yeah, and I forgot the guy's name. I think it's Hugh Grant, maybe. Is that his name?
oh yeah,
He's
Hugh Grant. Yeah,
Played such a cool, smarmy guy in that film. I love that movie so much.
I do too. It was so good. Yeah, yep.
Well,
So-
cool. What do you say we
Even
Gen Z
McConaughey
it
was
up?
awesome. Yeah, Gen Z. Let's do it.
Let's
I
do
need
this.
I need some biblical edification.
Well, we're going to go to chapter 14, the Gospel by Gen Z. This is called Adulteress.
Oh, no.
Here we go. Sacred blood was spilling the holy tea at the temple when some unholy Karens brought a baddie who they caught in 4K in a sneaky link. They said, King, this woman was caught going feral with someone who she wasn't cuffed by. The mod rules say we must throw hands with such snacks. WBY, and they let him cook, but only to get the receipts in 4K, so in order to get him canceled. So Holy Bro left them on red and gave them the divine side eye, while he let his finger speak in cursive in the sand. When they kept asking, he said, let he who has done no one dirty throw the first hand. So one by one they said their Irish goodbyes, starting with the fourth year bros, until the thirsty woman was the only one left. Then he turned to her and said, woman, where are the ops? POV, you're the one that has no enemies, she said. They all ghosted me. So he said, then me personally, I'll also let that slide. Go and do not friend zone God again.
Oh man, that is absolute poetry.
And these are my real
Chicks.
reactions too. I've refrained from reading this because I want
Yeah,
I wanted to get the content out of it. It just keeps getting better, dude.
it really does. Like
Yeah.
I've been thoroughly impressed with the creativity of integrating the dialect that is alien not only to me, but I believe even the writer to some degree, where he
yeah.
has studied it, and being able to then translate not only just the dialect but the message properly, almost.
Almost. And he has
yeah.
citations in there. Like at the bottom, who caught her in 4K question mark and why didn't they bring the broski? Sus. Some manuscripts read and let God not be like thy brethren to thee anymore. Yeah.
This is well researched and well done.
He's doing a
It's
damn good
bizarre.
job.
Yeah. So,
Wow.
well, it was great to be back, man.
It is good to be back.
To get a full episode in too, because like the last one, while we were there, we were limited on time, and we were both super tired and did not have a lot to contribute other than just being in the same room.
Which hopefully could change. Hopefully we can get something set up. If you're a frequent flyer down here, we'll see. But yeah, I
That
can
is
get
in the
something
works.
set up a little more formal as we go forward. So thanks for bearing
Yeah.
with us on the last one and for your participation on YouTube tonight, everybody. I appreciate that.
Yeah, it's great. It's great to have people actually in the chat throwing us comments and in real time, and it's been awesome. I plan on getting. We have all of the social media set up now,
Yep.
and I plan on getting more active on that and putting Oliver on it as well. So if you guys want to reach out, I think we're the Modern Relics on I think all major platforms, if I'm not mistaken.
Pretty close to everywhere. I'll try to get something formal in the show notes of this week or next week because I'm still kind of sorting through it as well. But
Great.
but we're there. You
we'll
should be able to use those keywords to find us for sure.
And you guys can start sharing if you want to any of the links in order to kind of start pushing it out there and sharing it with your friends. Tell your friends we have a good time over here.
Oh yeah.
So
Awesome, brother.
well, yeah.
Well-
All right, my man. I'm gonna go get some dinner started as per usual. But
Well, that's
Yeah, it
that's
was
as
great.
good a reason as any to call it a night there, eh?
yeah. So all righty, man.